we go. All right, so quick review of views and how to bring things onto sheets, and then how to print, okay? One other thing we'll do today is I want to show you how to very quickly, without a lot of explanation, how to alter your title block, all right? And we'll do that. We'll just get into kind of a very basic level of altering your title block, but if you want to change the logo or something like that, I'll show you how to do that today, okay? I'll remind you that we have these views over here in our project browser of our model, right? And they are called views because when we build our model, let's turn off my section cut here. There we go. When I look at it in different ways, for example, when I look at a floor plan view or an elevation view or a section view, right, I am viewing the entire model. Thank you. Mm-hmm. These are not flat drawings, right, that are separate. They are views of one whole model. So I'm gonna, when I look at my main level view of the floor plan, here it is, right? I want to remind you that we can duplicate these views. So I've got my main level view. If I wanted to create a main level view that maybe just showed, something like this closet, or maybe had a different hatch on the floor or something, I could copy this view. So I could right click over it here in the property browser, project browser, choose duplicate view, and I get a copy of that, right? I can right click, I can rename. Maybe this is main level closet, okay? And I can manipulate this one separate from the floor plan that I duplicated, right? So main level floor plan will stay exactly as it is. I can go to the copy main level closet and I can crop it, I can add dimensions, I can add all sorts of other types of things to this, and it doesn't affect the main level floor plan, okay? Now I say I can add all sorts of things, meaning annotation, right? So notes and text and different hatch patterns, and I can visually turn things on and off, right? So I can turn the walls off or the doors off, okay? So anything visual or annotation, I can add or change or move or whatever, and it doesn't affect the parent view, essentially, this view, right? However, that doesn't extend to architectural elements. So if I delete something, right? If I grab this wall and I hit delete, that does delete in every single view, right? So temporary or visual or annotation things that change from view to view, they don't translate from view to view, but architectural changes do, okay? So in this view, I deleted that wall. I go back to main level and the wall is gone, okay? All right, I'm gonna undo that and bring my wall back. Looks good. All right. So we have our views. We know how to copy views of our model, right? I also want to remind you, last time we talked about creating views using a callout, right? A callout is creating a copy of a view, but it limits the extent of the view. So it kind of creates that cropped little region in one movement. I click on callout. I circle a little area that I want to see in larger scale. Click, click. And there's my call out. Now this call out, when I click on it, the outline of it, right, I can move the boundary in and out. I can change the little bubble here, right, to where I want it to go. And one other thing that I may have failed to mention last time was that if I just click on that call out and I look over here, if I come down here to identity data, I have a view name, right? And that view name is main level closet call out, okay? And if I look up here, main level closet call out, right? So that effectively created a new floor plan view over here in my project browser, right? Using the call out tool. If I double click on that call out, I see exactly what that call out is surrounding, right? It's created a cropped view. I can change the scale, I can add annotation, I can change the visual graphics. Remember VV or VG? This is kind of a mini layer dialog or a layer dialog box where I can visually turn architectural and annotation items on and off. Maybe if I move down here to walls. Okay, and it turns my walls off. All right, undo. Okay.
Where was call out again?
It's under view, call out, right there. All right, so we can copy these, we can duplicate these, we can rename them, we can create new views with the call out tool, right? And the key idea here is that these are all brand new views and they're views of the model, right? I can also create sheets that I can then print on, right? To create a new sheet, if you remember, I right click, new sheet. I choose the title block I want to use. In this case, we have the 22 by 34 loaded, but if we didn't have it loaded, I would choose load. I would go all the way down to the very bottom to the title block window. Right? Choose the one I wanted. Let's just choose 11 by 17. Hit open. It's chosen. Hit OK. And now I have an 11 by 17 inch page created here. Okay. So then I have another sheet. Here's my A101, 102, and then it kind of, you know, suggests the next name, 103. When I want to change these, I can change some of these items in here. If I click on very slowly twice some of these areas, it allows me to change them. Okay. These areas that are being allowed to change are parameters. Okay. So these parameters, they have relationships with one another in the drawing, meaning if I change, you know, some of them, let me re-say that, some of them have relationships with other things in the project. So for example, if I change the project number or something that is specific to every page, like the client, SLCC, enter, I changed it there, and that changes here as well, right, SLCC. Salt, SLCC, I go back to this page, then those things coordinate. Okay. Okay. So this title block is essentially defining my sheet size. So by choosing an 11 by 17 inch title block, that's really all I have to do to specify how big this sheet is, right? In AutoCAD, we have the page setup manager and we have layouts that we can size, right? But essentially in Revit, our layout is all one size, and we apply a title block to define how big that page is going to be, okay? So in this case, it's an 11 by 17. If I want to change my title block because I picked the wrong size, I could click on an existing title block, use my drop down here, change it to 22 by 34. And there's my 22 by 34 inch title block. Okay, pretty easy. This is one of the wonders of Revit right here, right? If I want to add drawings to my sheet, okay, and let me clarify this as well. Sheets are printed and views exist within the drawing to be dragged onto sheets that are printed, right? Very rarely do I just open up the main level floor plan and print it, right? I could print this view if I wanted, but more likely the workflow is going to be, I'm going to place a title block on a page, I'm going to click on a view, click, hold my mouse down, drag, let go, click, I'm going to place that view on a sheet, and then the sheet gets printed, right? The reason I like to place views on sheets and then print sheets is because sheets have information on them about the project, right? It's more professional. You can also date items on sheets, right? You could place a floor plan and you print this on a sheet and give it to a client, and then you spend, you know, 9 more months designing, and they say, well, what happened to the bathroom? The bathroom that you printed out shows this. And you say, well, you know, that was 9 months ago. Look at the date on the sheet, right? Which happens. So you have information about the project, right? You have dates, you have, you know, things about who drew it, other things that make it, you know, better to put a view on a sheet and print it rather than just printing the plain view, okay? All right, any questions about any of those things so far? Yep.
Is there any way to make like the view of the floor plan bigger?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple things, right? So I look at this one, and this was a call out, right? So it's inherently just cropped because it's a little portion of the floor plan that I want to see, right? But what if I want to see the whole floor plan? Well, I would probably take this view, which is supposed to be cropped, and delete it off there, right? And what I would want to do is probably place number 1, the main level, right? So I'm going to grab the main level, drag it. Oh, that one's already on a sheet. Let's make a copy, and I'll show you a couple things. Okay, main level copy number 1. We're just going to leave that name. I'm going to grab it, drag it, let go, clear, click, and place it. Okay, so number one, this drawing is just larger because I'm showing a bigger portion of the floor plan, right? But you're looking at it thinking, well, maybe it's too big for the sheet, or maybe it's too small on the sheet for whatever reason, okay? And if something like this, you have it in its entirety and it's too big or small on the sheet, it's likely because of the scale of that drawing, okay? So I can change the scale of this by going to the original view, click, click, and changing it from a 1/2 inch to half that scale, 1/4 of an inch. Nothing really happens on the screen here in my view, but when I go back to my sheet, it's a lot smaller, right? Because it's half the scale, the size of that scale is half the size of 1/2 inch, okay? So there's that. If I think, oh, it's too small, I can go back to the view and change the scale back, right? Or I could double click, 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 engage the viewport here, and I could change the view here. Let's change it, maybe not 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8. It's a weird scale, right? But maybe I want it 3/8. Click, click out, click on this object, and I drag it and I move it to where it needs to go. Click on the viewport, drag out my view title. Did that answer your question? Okay, so that is really about scale, right? If it's not cropped. Remember, it's still good practice, even though we've set our crop boundaries to not print in the print dialog box. It's still pretty good practice to make sure that your crop region, right, my crop boundary is turned off when I print. Okay, I'm going to right click and deactivate my view. Right, you're seeing me do the same thing a lot of different ways, right? I am clicking and activating the view, and I am clicking and deactivating the view. I am right clicking and activating the view, right? I am right clicking and deactivating the view. I'm going back over here to the kind of main view, click, and doing things. And I am closing out of drawings that are on top of other drawings, click, to get back to where I was, right? So you're seeing me do a lot of the same things different ways. Whatever way is going to work best for you, go that route, right? I just want you to know there's not one way that's better than another. It's about kind of how you prefer to work, right? I'm a keyboard person. If I can keyboard shortcut, I keyboard shortcut, right? If I can't keyboard shortcut, I try and click, right? Or I try and click. I don't like right-click menus. I don't like searching for things, right? And I don't like icons. I don't like searching. Yep.
So when you start creating views to put on your sheet, you're gonna end up start having 5 more multiple tabs for main level. Can you make a folder to hide those away?
You can. We're not going to learn it now, but yes, you can.
It gives me stress when
Right.
I have a list of 50 things.
Right. So this becomes very cumbersome, right? So you're going to start, you don't get folders, but you get kind of these little organizational tabs, right? So yes, you can start organizing them. And there's a way to do it, but we're not going to talk about it just yet. Yes. Okay, so we have our views, right? We have our sheets created. Let's talk about printing one more time. And I want to go over to the plotter and actually print something, okay? So to print a sheet, I'm going to Control P, right? I'm going to choose my Adobe PDF. I just want to print AE 103. That's the only sheet I want to print. So I'm going to click on Select the View. Oh, uncheck Views, and it filters out the sheets. So I check one AE 103. I'm going to hit OK. So I've got my PDF selected, combine multiple sheets into one view, one single file. I picked the sheet I want to print. I come here to Setup, and I make sure that this is actually a 24 by 36, which is Arch D. I want to center the plot, and I want it to be zoomed to 100% of size, meaning it's the right size, it's scalable. Okay. If I choose Fit to Page, it takes the whole thing and slightly makes it smaller, and that breaks the scale of all the objects on that page. So we want zoom, and it's landscape. Do you see how it toggled when I did that? Just always make sure the settings are right. Revit has a really bad habit of toggling things back and forth. Do you see how it toggled it when I hit zoom? So if you go back and forth, just make sure that these toggles, it's not incorrect. Yep.
My dialogue box looks a lot different than yours.
It does.
Like it doesn't have place for the size.
Oh, it's because I changed. I'm in setup now.
Oh.
Yep. Yep. You're good. You're one behind. There we go. All right. So we print this to PDF. Okay. And you'll hear that term a lot. I think when I use that term, if you haven't worked in an office, you get a little confused because you think print a PDF. Okay, so like physically print a PDF, right? But when you hear, hey, will you print a PDF for me? Generally it means create a PDF from your digital drawings, right? And then there will be more discussion on whether they actually want you to create a physical print of that PDF, right? So somebody will say to you, will you print a PDF of that to me and send it over? And that means create a physical or a digital file, not a physical one, and email it, right? So I hit OK. Looks good. I hit OK. I designate a place to save this. We'll just do it on the desktop. So I give it a name and I hit save, and it's generating that file.
When you have multiple views on one sheet, is it automatically scaling the annotation based on the sheet?
It's based on the view.
Based on the view?
Yeah, so if I have 3 different views on a sheet, right? One's a 1/2 inch, a 1/4, and an 1/8. They scale, the views scale themselves and they come together on the sheet, scaled as they are.
I'm assuming if you want the annotation bigger or smaller than the default, you can go in and...
You can change it.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll get to that. Here's one finicky thing about Revit. Usually, and I was hoping it would be resolved in 18, but it looks like it's still doing the same thing. I always kind of get an error the first time I create a PDF file, so I always close it out and I try again. And hopefully none of my settings have changed. They look pretty good. And it breezes right through it the second time, right? Done. And there's my PDF file, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do. We are gonna go over and we are gonna plot this file on the plotter. If I wanted to print this PDF here, right, I could. Control P. I would have to do a smaller piece of paper at this plotter because it will only do an 11 by 17. So essentially it's, in order to print on this little printer, it has to be shrunk down, right, to work. So I could choose fit to page, and then I could choose, you know, whatever size I want, like 11 by 17, hit OK. And it just takes that 24 by 36 and scales it down proportionally to 11 by 17. So it doesn't have any integrity with regard to scale, but at least you can print it smaller size. So I hit print. And it should ideally print, right? All right, so that printed. Now let's go over and let's print it on the plotter. The best way to print on that plotter over there, we have an OSE plotter. The best way to do it is to use a zip drive, right? Just take your little thumb drive. And I say that, I actually do think it's, number one, I'm just gonna check. It is installed, right? It's the OSE PlotWave 500, but it doesn't work very well that way. So we'll just go around that. All right, so I'm gonna save this file, save as, and I'm gonna go to my little thumb drive. Let's see if it's recognizing it. Yep, there we go. And we'll save it here. Save, and I just saved it to my thumb drive. Okay, so let's go over to the print room. Let me just go grab my, stay right here just for a second. Let me go grab my key for the print room. I'm not positive it's open.
Do you know where that file is? You just go up here to insert, and then import.
All right, so that is our plotter. That is how we print. Final thing I'll just talk about quickly today, and then we'll be done for today. I just want to show you how to very quickly maybe alter your title block, right? Again, you won't be printing just yet, and I'm not going to give you a new assignment just yet, but you know, you may want to think about editing your title block for when you do print, so that you know, you can maybe have your logo on it or your name, or make it look the way you want it to look, okay? And this is an introduction to another topic, which will be editing families. Eventually we'll get to that. But essentially, a title block is an annotation family in Revit, okay? Families are essentially like blocks in AutoCAD. They're groups of elements that are designed together to create an object, right? So like a chair, okay? A chair is a family, or a bed is a family. The difference between a family and a block is that a family has parameters built into it, right? So it's more interactive. It has relationships built into it, okay? And title block families are no different. We have parameters or relationships built into our title blocks, okay? To get into a family, to edit a family, I can double click very quickly on that family, or I can click on the family and then hit edit family, all right? So I'm gonna click on edit family. And when I do that, I'm essentially brought into an editor. So it's another file, but in that separate file, I can edit this family, right? So I can come in here, I can click on this line and hit delete, 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 right? Delete. And if I don't want this, delete. If I don't want this text, delete, 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 right? We don't know how to create text very well yet, but you can delete it. If I don't want this Autodesk logo, click, delete. I love that. Oh, delete. Okay, so you can really come in here and you can start customizing it. Now, we'll get rid of that timestamp. We don't want that on any of our drawings. But these text elements, these are called labels. We'll leave those in for now because you will need those. But if you want to move them or copy them or rotate them, you know, you can do that very simply. If you want to add other lines in here, okay, I'll show you how to add simple lines in here. We're going to go to our Create tab. You notice the tabs within our family editor are a little different than in our normal Revit projects, right? But if I go to this line tool right here, click. Yeah, you're good. If I click on the line tool, all right, I get a little cursor. We're heading back into AutoCAD territory here with drafting, right? So we can start sort of drafting like in AutoCAD. The only difference is that instead of using layers that associate with line weight, we have this drop-down menu here that just has line thicknesses. So we have wide, thin, medium, title block, and invisible lines, right? So if I wanted to add lines in here, I could click on medium lines. I could click on the rectangle, right? I could do an offset of, you know, 1/2 inch, and I could create a new boundary, right? Or maybe something like that. So if you want to go in and edit your title block a little, make it your own, you know, delete some lines, add some lines, feel free to do that, okay? So you can edit using lines. And again, you go to Create, Line, okay? And then choose your line type and then draw with your drawing tools, all right? If I want to add an image, right? Let's find an image. So it's maybe, oh, Google's 19 today.
19 years ago,
My husband was amazed. He was like, 19 years? It's really been that long? Like he was in a relationship or something with the Okay, so Bruin, right? We'll just do Salt Lake Community College. I click on my logo. I'll right click, save the image. We'll go to desktop and save this as Bruin, enter. Okay, so you're gonna go find your image, and if you have a company logo or whatever, you'll have a JPEG image of it, or you know, something to that effect. To bring that image into Revit, I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna come up here to Insert, and we have an image option. So insert an image, very easy. Click. I go to my desktop, click. I find my Bruin, click, open, click, and it's gigantic. But I have these little grips where I can drag it and make it smaller, and I can move it over to where I want it to go, make it a little smaller. Okay, looks pretty good. I can nudge it with my arrows, get it in the exact right spot. There we go. Okay. Now there's two ways I can save this. Okay. If I hit Control S and save, I can create a brand new file with a new name and say Salt Lake Community College custom title block 24 by 36, and I can create a brand new family file. Okay. Now by doing that, when you load title blocks into your projects, you will want to go to wherever you save your new title block file and load that one and use it. Great. Okay. I could also, if I wanted to, go into my Revit project, and I could take this file and not save it anywhere else on my computer, but I could load it into the current project I'm working on, and it will replace the current 24 by 36 inch title block. So it overwrites it, right? Which means the original is no longer available to me in my Revit file. Okay? So I can save it external as its own file and load it in. I can overwrite the existing title block within the drawing I'm working in, okay, but that makes my current title block unavailable. So the third thing is kind of an exception to loading it in and overwriting it. I can load it in and overwrite it, making my current one unavailable, but in doing that, it doesn't affect the original file of that title block, okay? It's a little, let me show you what I mean by that. So I could save this, right? I could do File, Save, and save it as a separate file. But I'm going to load it into my project and close this current file. So load into project. And it says, hey, you have one with this name already in there. Do you want to overwrite it? And I could say, yes. Great. So it replaced all of those instances of that title block with this new title block. But in doing so, it just redefined this 22 by 34 horizontal with this definition, okay? And you're thinking, oh great, did I just forever kill that 22 by 34, right? I never get the Autodesk one back? No, I just killed it within this file, right? So I could edit type, give it a new name, or I could reload that other title block back in, right? And redefine it to its original state, right? So when I load something in and overwrite, it just overwrites within that current file, not hurting the original file. All right. So looking towards the future, you will be printing, but not quite yet. You will also have an assignment in the future to edit your title block and kind of customize it to what you're doing, right? And you don't know a lot about title blocks yet, but you could open this title block by hitting, clicking on it and hitting Edit Family, and editing it, adding an image, add a logo, we'll eventually learn how to do text, so you could add text to it, you know. But you will learn how to customize this, and you will in the future have an assignment to do that. So in all your extra time, you could design a new title block for yourself, right? But you will want to think about doing that. Okay, so we have our sheet now, and because that title block, right, they all have the same name and instance, they were all replaced, okay? And I can print this just as it is, all right? Any questions so far? Not bad? All right. I'm not gonna give a new assignment. This is really all I wanted to do today, was kind of finish up printing, show you how to edit your title block, talk to you about the plotter, right? And we will start again next week with building elements, and you'll have some more assignments. They'll be a little bit bigger now because you have more information available to you, right? So I'll be asking you to add new elements to your models from now on, and I'll be asking you to create PDFs, and I might even ask you to print a physical piece of paper, okay? So get all your assignments done, get caught up in that, and we'll start again next week. Yep.
I can't get